Alright y'all, this is my 6-month review of the Cannondale Topstone 1. So this is the aluminum version, this is not the carbon version. So there's no bushings, no suspension in it. The Cannondale Topstone lineup gets pretty messy, but this is the bare bones aluminum version. So I'm gonna do this basically just pros and cons, and I'll give you a little background on the bike and why I bought it. I bought it because I wanted a gravel bike. I work at a shop that sells Cannondale and Giant. Giant didn't really have a good option for me at the time. And this is a completely unbiased review. I did buy this bike. Okay, so everything is aluminum. So the pros. First pro, and this is the biggest pro by far, is full GRX. This is GRX 600, so it's the 105 equivalent of GRX. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. It shifts perfectly. The brakes work really, really well. The shifters are comfortable. The brake lever feels good. Just super, super, super pleased with GRX. I think the gear range also is really great. For most people, for myself, it's pretty good. I occasionally spin out, but usually that's around like 130 RPM and like 40 plus miles an hour. So at that speed, I'm usually not pedaling that much anyway. So I have a 46 at the front, 46/30 at the front, and then a 11/34 at the back. I find that to be plenty for getting up most hills. I live in Bloomington, Cutters. There's a lot of steep, sharp, chunky uphill gravel around here. So you have to do a lot of seated climbs, and I feel like the gear ratio is perfectly fine. You know, if you're not comfortable putting like a lot of power up hills, then you might find it to be too big, but also climbing is hard, so get used to it, I guess. But you could put a bigger cassette if you wanted. Another thing I like about the bike are the bars. The bars have a really, really, really comfortable flare on them. It's a 40 at the top and then a 46 in the drop, and I love that. I'm 5'9", riding a medium frame. It's a nice shallow drop, so you get a lot of control going downhill. Yeah, another thing I like about this is all the mounts. There's mounts everywhere. There's top tube here. There's 3 for the bottle cage on the top or on the down tube, and then 2 more down here, pretty standard. You have full rack mounts, full fender mounts. You have 3 on the fork here, carbon fork by the way, 3 on either side, and then on the inside for fenders as well. Tons of mounts, really awesome. I don't really like hydration packs, so having a third mount down by the bottom bracket is fantastic. Oh, speaking of bottom bracket, threaded bottom bracket, pretty standard. It seems like there's not a lot of pros because those are really the only ones, but I mean, there's minor ones like, okay, I don't have toe rub, that's nice. That doesn't sound like a lot of pros, but it really is, because those are the biggest things. Like group set and brakes is half the damn bike. Let's get into the cons. Con number 1 is essentially, and this is the first thing that I noticed about the bike, was the tires are way too narrow. The 37 mil from the factory, WTB Riddler, I think is what they are, or something like that. 37 mil is way too narrow for anything other than just perfect gravel. Around here we got a lot of chunky stuff. Sometimes it's muddy, sometimes it's everything. You get everything around here. So I immediately, the first thing I did was upgrade tires. I got a 40 on here, which is honestly still kind of narrow, but it's the narrowest I would go on modern gravel bike, really. I got Goodyear connectors on here, set up tubeless. I figured I'd give them a shot. I got a good deal on them, and they are awesome. I love them. They roll decently fast on the road. I would say they're overall a pretty good tire. The next thing I don't like about this is the weight. It is pretty heavy, and that's to be expected, aluminum rims, but it seems like this bike, when they built it, they didn't care all about weight, and that's fine. That's totally fine, but it is pretty heavy. I'll find out and put it in the description, actually. The weight is really heavy. These wheels, I think, are 2,200 grams, 2.2 kilos, which is really, really heavy. They're like a WTB rim, and then a Formula hub, front and rear. And that's another thing, was that this free hub, I've had the bike for 6 months, and I take pretty good care of my bike. I try and clean it after every ride. when it gets like dusty or muddy or anything. And the free hub's shot. Feels like there's like concrete in there. You leave it hanging up for 3 days, and by the time you get back to it, it's like locked up, and you have to kind of like kick it back to unseize it. Pretty disappointed in that. Between 2,000 and 3,000 miles I've done on the bike in 6 months. I'm pretty disappointed in the free hub here, and obviously it's one of those stock things. It's really difficult to find replacement parts for. Formula hub. It's not like some DT hub or something like that. So yeah, not too pleased with that. So the kind of the solution here is to ride this until it completely craps out, and then I have to buy a new wheel. And that's to the point where it's like, okay, well, the wheels are so damn heavy. Like now I'm thinking about spending more money to upgrade the wheels and to get something lighter. But then you're like, okay, well, what am I getting myself into here? I'm just digging myself into a hole. The other thing that doesn't really do it for me is the saddle. That's just a personal preference. I think that it doesn't work very well when you're getting aggressive. It kind of dips in the middle of it there. As soon as you try and bend your elbows a little bit, get a little bit more aggressive, it doesn't really work that well. It pinches in the wrong spots. But that's just my personal experience. Other like bar tape, these are nitpicky things. Bar tape feels like sandpaper. It's complete garbage. As soon as this thing's crusty, I'm gonna put some different tape on here. Yeah, other than that, that's it. If I had to sum this bike up in one word, I would say that it is extremely simple. I mean, threaded bottom bracket, aluminum frame, mounts everywhere, aluminum wheels, a mechanical group set, no internal crap. It just goes through here and it comes out down by the bottom bracket, so you don't have to feed it through your chain stays. 27.2 seat post, round, normal seat post clamp. Overall, I'm pleased with the purchase. I think that this retails for $2,300, which at that price point, I'm not quite sure, to be honest, if that's the best value. It could be, but I know it was when I bought it, but with bike prices as they are, and I think that you might be able to find something better at that price point. 2,300 bucks, you might be able to find a nice thing that's used. And it seems like gravel bikes now have become not just a type of bike, but a category of bike. So you have these race gravel bikes and adventure gravel bikes, and this is just one of those basic gravel bikes. You know what I mean? It doesn't do anything particularly exceptionally, and it does nothing wrong. I would feel confident telling anyone that they can do anything on this. I've ridden this. I've taken this for 250-mile week on the road, just riding on the road, and it was fine. You did feel a little slow because you had big old tires and wide bars, but honestly, it was fine. I've taken this on 100-mile plus gravel rides. It was fine, and I've raced it, and it was fine. So yeah, that's my one word to sum it up is simple and adequate. I think that you can do anything on this bike. Thanks.